The year was 2014, and I'll never forget sitting in my car listening to the radio as I heard the broadcast stopped for yet another announcement that a rocket was fired on Israel. The war that took place that year was truly traumatic, and yet the figures, the numbers, it was never more than a sad thought of the loss of life and of the tragedy that had taken place. But when it comes to Yom Hazikaron, it's more than just a tragedy, it's more than just a sad memory, it is personal. When I was in Israel for 6 months in 2016, I did the most cliche thing that one can do who's visiting Israel around the time of Yom Hazikaron. I went out just before they were about to sound off the siren and observe a moment of silence. And I went to the nearby highway. I stood above on a bridge, and as the siren began blaring, I remember seeing all the cars come to a halt. The drivers come out. The people in the streets stopped wherever they were. And it was a powerful moment of sheer emotion. There was a palpable sense that everyone knew someone who had been lost. We in the diaspora find it difficult often to relate to what Yom Hazikaron truly means. To those lost in the efforts to protect the land of Israel, to civilians, to people serving in the army, we remember them all. And so we have put together some accounts, some testimonies of people you may know that are telling their story of Yom Hazikaron. I encourage you all to take time to think that even though it may seem so distant and so far, and sometimes it can, God forbid, just be a number on a screen, for many, it is real.
Shalom everyone. I'll never forget that night when I got the message. I was fixing my tent and I get a text message from my yeshiva, from my high school, saying if anyone saw Gilad or Naftali, please report to us immediately. We thought they were bunking school. They're in trouble. We started making fun of them. We didn't imagine the truth. I knew Gilad and Naftali very well. In fact, our yeshiva, our high school, had benches. 4 kids sit on each bench. And to my right, every morning, afternoon, and evening, for 3 davening, for 3 prayers, sat Gilad. To my left, another friend, and to his left, Naftali. I knew them both very well. I had a great connection with them. It was a very, very sad time for all of us to figure out that they were kidnapped. I remember how all of Israel started praying, started connecting to find the lost boys. No one knew what was up with them. Only later on we figured out that when they kidnapped my friends and Gilad picked up his phone to call the police, did they shoot them all to death. Gilad, Naftali, and Eyal. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Eyal at all. I only knew Gilad and Naftali. They were great people, young people, innocent people, people with a life ahead of them, people who thrived, wanted to grow, to be better people, to make the world better. And they did, they managed. Although after they were dead. But all of Israel, all of the Jews in the world, connected. Many times we find each other fighting, arguing, not at those times. We were all united, connected. It was a great loss. But Am Yisrael, the Jews around the world, connected, and that connection it stayed. And we could still feel it to this day. And I hope that we'll make our connection, all the Jews in the world, make the connection stronger, make it better, and thrive for the best we can for Am Yisrael, while remembering those great losses that we all lost.
Shoot again. I'm not on a battleground. I'm shooting in the Guard of Honor at a funeral. It's the funeral of Staff Sergeant Yuval Mena. I look around at the faces of the family, friends. The emotion, the heartbreak, I can't describe to you how much pain and suffering there is. Yuval was born in 1997 in Kiryat Tivon in northern Israel. As a child, he moved to Givatayim near Tel Aviv. When he turned 18 and the time for army service came, he wanted to serve as a combat soldier. He wanted to fight and defend his country. He volunteered to join the Paratroopers Brigade and was sent to the 101st Battalion. After a year of service, he was sent to Commander's Course, where he became a commander. It is then that our paths crossed. He was sent, as his first job as a commander, to my company. As someone who later would go on to complete Commander's Course myself, I know the feeling of coming to a new group of soldiers. It's a lot of tension, a lot of pressure. You want to impress your officers above you, and you want to show the soldiers below you that you're not a pushover, that you need to be taken seriously. Often this leads to an impression of hardness, of non-friendliness, wanting to show that there are lines that should not be crossed with you. This was not the case with Yuval, even though it was with the other two commanders that arrived with him. Yuval was friendly, smiling, compassionate. He didn't want to show you that he's not a pushover. He wanted to show you that he cared. He was worried about you. He wanted you to be happy. This really served as an inspiration for me, as when I was joined to a new group of soldiers, I didn't take the hard, non-moving, difficult approach. Learn from Yuval and wanted to be the most friendly and compassionate that I've been. Unfortunately, I didn't get to know Yuval for long. One Shabbat, when I was at home on leave, Yuval was on a patrol on the Gaza border. He had 3 other soldiers with him in the car. Suddenly on the radio, they get a message. Terrorists infiltrating into Israel. But it's just a drill. They're very aware that it's just a drill too. But any good soldier knows that if you take a drill seriously, if you perform it properly, then when the real thing comes, it'll be a lot better, it'll be a lot easier. More professional and more efficient. This drill wasn't routine though. As they were driving, the Hummer, the armored vehicle that they were in, flipped. Everyone in the car was injured. The other 3 soldiers that were with Yuval eventually recovered from their injuries, more or less. But not Yuval. He died shortly after the crash. The reason I'm telling you the story is not because it is inspirational, but because it isn't. Every year on Yom Hazikaron, we come to mourn all the soldiers that have died as heroes on the battlefield, those that were ambushed by terrorists, those that armored vehicles were hit by missiles. And we honor them as champions, people who died fighting for their country. But so often, we forget those that die in accidents, training mishaps, avoidable deaths. In a way, the pain of their families is greater, because they won't be remembered as heroes. They won't be honored as those who laid down their life in the face of the enemy. That they are heroes. And they deserve a hero's memory. The fact that there is an army means that accidents will happen. There will be training deaths, there will be car crashes. It's part of the reality of an army, a reality in which a country has to defend itself. Their deaths are tragic, even more tragic, because in a way they're avoidable. But they still died in the service of the country. Yuval was not killed by the bullet of a terrorist on the Gaza border, but he was killed by every single bullet that's been fired at the state of Israel since 1948 until today. Every Yom Hazikaron, remember the heroes who died for our country. Those who died on the battlefield, those who died on the training ground, on the road, and anywhere else. They are all heroes, and we remember them all. We remember Staff Sergeant Yuval Mena. May his memory be a blessing.
Hi guys, just wanted to leave you a short message for this year's Yom Hazikaron 5780. It's a day we really remember the sacrifices that people have made. We have a state of Israel, thank God, and that state of Israel provides so much for the Jewish people. Take a moment this year on Yom Hazikaron to just think about that. You know, all of us in our own lives, we make sacrifices where we give up something in order for something else to happen. And Yom Hazikaron is that day where we remember those fallen soldiers and victims of terror who have unfortunately lost their lives. And that's the greatest sacrifice that anybody can make. But at least for all of us on a smaller level, we can think about what can we do? What can we make a sacrifice to for Israel in recognition and in memory of those who have made the greatest sacrifice? What can we do? And in that way, we appreciate so much more Israel, what it does for us, and how we can be part of that story. Wishing you all a powerful and memorable Yom HaZikaron.